Hello, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it might be. Welcome to a new week and a new project. Or two. I haven't decided yet. I don't, it depends on how much time I have. It actually is Tuesday evening for me right now. Um, and I did do some work in the shop Saturday, Sunday. And I should have filmed a bunch of it, but I didn't. So this will just be the beginning of this week's video. Um, so the pumpkins, I've I picked up a couple of cheap decorations from the dollar store, and I decorated them, and we're gonna take some pictures. And I made a little sign to go with it that just says fall. I'll show it to you here. And if you see, I made the fall sign very very rough, but I made the letters out of horseshoes, and then I lightly sprayed a board with some of that orange paint that we did with the pumpkin, just to give it a little bit of a look, and made the letters black, and just thought it came out pretty okay. I mean, it was just a proof of concept that I can make signs with the horseshoes, and so what I want to practice this week is making more letters. I practiced earlier, and I've made like this S. This S took a while to make because I had to like bend the shoe back the other, like straighten the shoe and then bend it back the other way and then try to get it as even as possible. I think it came out really well. It's just, this was a really big shoe. I think this was a 3. Can't remember. Pretty sure it was a 3. And then we made an R as well because I got a message on the shop page asking if I could make signs with these types of letters for stall signs for horses. And she's asked me to make 4 signs. She hasn't confirmed actually wanting the signs. She's asked what it would take and what the price was and all that kind of stuff. I haven't come up with a price yet because I asked for some additional details. She still hasn't responded to that. So we're just waiting for that. But one of the barns that we go to, the owner of the bar really likes that kind of stuff. So I figured in order for us to practice, I was going to make a sign for that barn. That barn's called Willow Grove. So we're going to make a Willow Grove sign, which is a lot of leathers and a lot of different types of letters. Like a W might be difficult. I have to use 2 shoes and weld them together, that kind of thing. If you see in the picture, the fall sign, the F, the one part of the F is welded together, and then the L's, I welded them together too because they were too big after I created them to make it the way I wanted to. Same with the A, so everything had a little bit of a weld in it. Certain letters won't need welds, like O's and S's, and well, it depends on the. If I want them to get to a certain size, I might have to shorten them or cut the shoes to a certain size and then make the letters. But one of the things I like is having the ends of the letters be the ends of actual shoes. So if I were to make this smaller, I would probably cut the middle out and then form it together and then weld it together in the middle so the ends still have their pieces. Same with the R, if you see here. All of the points that have an end to it is the end of a horseshoe, is the heel of a horseshoe. And I realized that using hind shoes for some letters are easier to make. Like a U would be really easy. A lowercase n is pretty easy. Most of the signs, it looks like it's all capital letters. So some of the ones that are going to be hard is like a Z or a Z. The W's, like I said. I think a lowercase e would be really hard. I mean, I could do it in one shoe, but it would be really lots of little work. Just like the S. The S was a lot. It just doesn't seem like it would take a lot, but it took a lot to get it the way I'd like it. I really like this S though, but this is more on the biggest I want to make them. And what I think I would like to do, just like the fall sign, I had a big F and then smaller letters that were capitalized. But they were smaller, just to give it that flow. And so what I want to try to do is we'll make for the Willow Grove sign. Most of her signs look like it's kind of all one word, Willow Grove. But the W and the G would be capitalized or larger in those signs. So that's what we're going to go for. I don't know if we're going to put it on a backer, or if we're going to just weld all the letters together just to make it one cohesive thing. We haven't decided any of that. I just want to make the letters and then do that. Another idea that I had was maybe a horseshoe fire pit. And so we'd have to learn how to make a bowl of horseshoes. I figured it's just about the size of the workbench, not this way, but like this way, but circular. I think would be really, really good. We could put some horseshoe feet on it, and then we can have a fire pit for just out here, actually, because the fire pit we have is just a pit in the ground. There's nothing around it. There's no bricks around it, none of that kind of stuff. It's just for burning off stuff from around the property, just bonfire stuff. But I figured it'd be nice to have like an actual fire pit you can sit around and do that kind of stuff, especially in the fall. The fall, having fires in the fall is so much better than in the summer, in my opinion. So, some of the things I'd like to take care of, hopefully this week, if I can figure out a good idea for the fire. The fire pit's pretty much just make the bowl, but I know that if we just put a bunch of stuff in there, all of the ashes and the embers and the charcoal, all is going to just fall through the bottom. So I don't know if I should put like a solid bottom after we've made it, and I haven't decided that yet. Just some sheet metal or something like that. I did some testing when I was welding these together by heating them back up with the welds intact and giving them a couple smacks to straighten, and the welds seemed to hold up pretty well. Some of the welds anyway, if I do it well. So because we don't want too much of this. It's fine for the most part, but we don't want a lot of it. So this is probably the most I'd want, and that's just because of the nature of welding the shoe the way we did. I could still heat this up and straighten it though, and that was the goal. But anyway, so yeah, we got the pumpkins done. We're starting on the letters, and I think. I'm just going to start working on the letters and just see where we can go from there. I have an idea for the W, but we're going to have to heat up and clean some shoes. And so I think I'm going to start doing that. I don't think we're going to make another hoof light for a while, because even though it came out kind of the way that I liked it, I've put it up in the house to see what it's like. And I think I want to come up with an idea to have it sit up off of whatever surface it's on, so it still gives a projected light downwards. Whether that's a stake so it can get stuck in the ground and then it's like a pathway light, or something for it to sit on if it's indoor, just to give it a bit more light. Those the cheapo the cheapo solar lights that we put in it too. It's very finicky. It likes to not come on at full strength and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to play around with that up in the house. So I don't think we're going to make another one of those anytime soon. But I think after these letters, we're going to have a better idea of how metal works, which is great because we're going to be bending a lot of metal to get it the way we want, and then once that sign's done, that we'll either look at the fire pit or a sculpture of some sort and see where we can go from there. That means that we've kind of put the woodworking side of things on hold a little bit here, but that's okay. I don't really have a project in my head for anything to use wood other than putting a backer on whatever we make. If we do the backer for the Willow Grove sign, it would just be a basic one, and it'd have to be a thicker than a 6-inch board. Wider than a 6-inch board, and that's pretty much all we have here. Is we still have those fence pickets, but I don't want it to necessarily hang off the board like the fall sign did. That was just to show the differences between the colors I could do. So yeah, I'm just going to spend some time cleaning up some shoes, and then when we get back here, I'll probably just motor through making the letters, and then we'll show you each finished letter. I'm going to try to do each finished letter, and we have a bunch of shoes that we've already cleaned up here and there. I don't know if I'm going to use all the same type of shoe. That's another thing I still have to think about. Do I use all Adventures? Do I use all Deltas? Do I do a mix and match of all of them? I don't know. We'll just see. We'll see what comes out of it. Everything. There is something we can do for the O's, because Willow Grove has has 2 O's in it. And then these types of shoes, we've talked about them before. So they're not like Adventures like these guys, or Deltas like the ones that have the flat tops. These are called bar shoes, and they're literally just a solid piece that is then formed into what a horseshoe would look like. And then it has they call it a bar shoe because the heel is attached by this bottom bar, and so that's to help with certain conditions horses can have in their feet, like foundering and laminitis and that kind of stuff. Don't ask me what that stuff is. I don't know. I've just heard the terms and why these are used that way. There are some shoes some horses that Courtney shoes that have these shoes on it. So we do have a couple. So instead of having to make the O, I'm wondering if we just size base it off of the bar shoes. I think bar shoes are a great option for the O's. So I think we'd need 2 O's, and then so the L's would have to come into a smaller thing, but the W will have to make bigger than the. So either way, we're gonna have to cut some shoes, and then get them to size, and then weld them together, and then we're gonna have to take all the clips off of every shoe. Most of the shoes we have clips, so that's what we're gonna be working on. So when we come back. Hopefully I have a bunch of shoes cleaned up and ready to go, and then we can go from there. All right. Okay, so what I'm going for here on the W, because we're going to start with the W and then the G and then the 2 O's and then work around them that way. So what we're looking for here is I'm trying to get the 2 ends rounded-ish. And then I'm trying to angle the inside part of both of the shoes just a little bit out this way. Then we'll overlap them. And then whichever one I can angle the most is going to get probably cut off. And then just put it, like weld it in line with the other one is what I'm going for. So we'll see what that turns into for sure. Just wasting propane behind me, but it's proven to be a little bit more of a, not a challenge, but it's only a challenge because I'm trying to straighten and angle this, the iron or the steel at the same time. And I'm wondering if leaving the middle one as long is good enough or not. We're going to have to see. I'm thinking maybe we also just because it looks like a butt. There's something to be said that maybe we just overlap them into a W. I'm having a hard time with this. I'm wondering maybe if I cut this one really low and then I bring this guy down. If I cut it really low and then weld it to the side of this one coming up, we might actually be okay with this being done for this. I'm going to straighten it, so I have to heat them still, but I think I want to try and straighten this one to match this one a little bit better. So we'll warm that guy up, and when we finally figure out exactly how that one's going to meet up to this one, then I think we just cut like an inch out of the heel of the shoe, bring the tip down, weld it back on, and that will give us our W. I know some fonts of W's that the middle part comes right up to the same height, but I don't want that. So I think I kind of like the look of this guy, and we're going to try to match the other one like this, just in the same direction. All right, so we got the W kind of exactly where we want it to be. I'll bring you over and show you, but a couple of little changes that are going to be made. The W and the G are going to be just slightly bigger than the other letters, provided I can make the other letters work the way I want them to. Because you can see we're going to use the O's. We're going to use the bar shoes for the O's, so they're going to remain mostly unchanged. I'm going to clean them up and then try to round them out a little bit better. But you can see that there's only about maybe an inch or 3/4 of an inch more to the W than the O itself. Fine, but both letters have O's in it, so I think it will round it out a little bit better. No pun intended with the roundy O's. Anyway, we did the W to the best of our ability. It's not welded or attached together or anything like that yet. But this is what we're going to use for the G, because you can see it's really got a good shape to it already. This came off of a horse with a really wide foot already. So when Courtney had made this shoe for the horse, it turned out to be pretty all right. So what I'm going to try to do with this guy is I'm just going to bring the heel up a little bit to give it more of a sharper angle on the bottom. And I'm going to try my best to not alter the size of the shoe lengthwise or widthwise for the shoes. This is length, that's this width. But anyway, I'm going to try to not alter the size of the shoe at all because I've got it almost perfect. The W just happened to show up exactly perfect. We had this here for reference while we were making the W, so it's not like I was blind making the W when I wanted it to match the the G, but that seems to be all right. I still don't know how we're going to do the capital part of the G. We're obviously going to use another part of another shoe to do it, but I don't know if I'm going to like flatten this piece out so it sits on there well, or if I'm going to put it over it, or if I'm going to put it around it. We have a couple extra pieces kicking around over here of shoes, right? So we could make something out of these pretty well, right? But I don't know what that's going to look like. So when we do the G, which is next, we're really going to figure this out. This W took longer than I thought. I think all the other letters might go faster, except for maybe the R, because the R is going to be difficult. This R I have made is already just too big and too skinny. Like it's too much taller than the O already. It's more in line with the W. So if I wanted to make all of the letters the same, we could possibly, the same height, we could possibly use this R, but it's also a lot skinnier than what you'd want it to be, especially in relation to the O. So it might come out and be the guy we use, but I think I'm going to try to make another one and see if I can come up with a different design for an R, but we'll see. But anyway, here, let me bring you over and show you what we've done with the W. All right, so the W, what we've done is we've cut this guy off here. This guy was there, and then we've grinded it a little bit to give it more of an angle on the inside here, just because we want to fit it snug up against the other W. And I'm using the bottom line here as a reference, which is perfect. And if I just snug it in there really, really well, that's really good. I don't know where the other piece went. There it is. And then this is the piece here that we took off of this guy. Again, we did grind it, so it doesn't match up here anymore. But this is what it would have looked like more or less had I not cut it off. And like, I mean, it would have been a little shorter because it was attached still. Like there's still burrs on here that's keeping everything apart. So yeah, I had that the right way. So anyway, and so we're going to match that up as much as possible and get that welded on there. And then I'm going to take it to the wire wheel and the grinder a bit, and then get the weld cleaned up. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to put a tack weld on either side of each of the connection points here. I'll probably do this W part first, this connection here first, in order to just solidify the W, and then we can move it around a little bit, so then we can get magnets maybe to hold this guy. I don't need magnets to hold this guy. There is a gap here between the W, the guys. I could grind it a little bit more, but I think I don't mind the gap. And I think trying to get the tack welds on either side here is going to be difficult enough. So we're going to try to do that right now, and we'll see how that goes. So just watch, I guess. The nails survived. I was playing around with bending nails into letters for a different project, and it didn't really work out. So there's definitely a see-through gap there. And I don't know if I want to fix that with weld or not. We'll see. It won't be see-through once I finish this weld here. So that seems to look really pretty good from this angle. I think I could have done that weld actually better if I would have pulled towards me. I know that there's no clear, concise right answer about whether to push or pull a MIG weld or a flux core weld. And so I'm experimenting with both as often as I can. to try and make my own decision. I'm wondering if I might be able to close that gap by just heating the whole W up in the forge and then just closing it. If this weld is good enough, it will hold regardless. So, but either way, a W is pretty close to being complete. Just needs to be cleaned up. And then the decision on whether to put the weld in there or not will be made later. But if I put the weld in there, maybe I should put the weld in here too, just so we have some consistency through our project. So we'll come back with me forging the G and getting its pieces ready. And then once we weld the G together, we'll see what kind of consistency we're looking for between our letters. And we'll go with that. All right, so I've made the G for the most part. See if we can show you that there. And then I've cut off this little tiny piece here from a smaller shoe. And I just cut the end off. And we're going to use that for the capitalization part of this G. And I'll show you, I'll come a little closer, what we're going to work with, how we're going to work with it here. So the G is here. It looks like it's a little bit over this way. I can fix that if it really bugs me later. But here, this is how we're going to get this guy situated in here. The problem is that it's a little bit thinner than this material, so it wants to slide down to like there. So in order to bring it up, I cut it on an angle, on two angles, on this angle and this angle at the same time. So all I really needed to do was just brush it and get it ready to go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up here. I'm going to actually go and brush it really quick. So we're going to get these guys kind of situated here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the flat magnet here just to hold this in place until I can get a quick little tack on it, and then we're going to weld it in the back just like we did with the W. But we want to make sure that we're as close to perfect as we can be. All right, so it's a little bit twisted, but again, I can fix it because I have to heat this up again in order to get everything the same color. And I still have some cleaning to do in here. But we're gonna just try to get this part of the weld as good as we can. I think I'm gonna go this, I don't know. All right, that just pushed it out of the way, which is not something we want. Okay, let's try that again. But if you can see there, we got a little bit of a wobble going on. So we'll try to straighten that out after the fact. But we got a W, we got a G. Oh, the other way around. Willow Grove. And we got them pretty close to the same height, which is pretty good. The G is a little bit bigger, so I might bring it down a bit. When we actually get it done. I don't know. it looks pretty good. Like they look all right. So we'll see. We'll see. But now that the big letters are done, now we can focus on the smaller letters. This G again, we don't know about filling in the lines where the connections are on the top. I don't know if we want to keep them, fill them in. I don't know. I know that filling them in will kind of ruin, like on the W, it will ruin the fuller and how it connects and that kind of stuff. So it's just one of those things that we just gotta play around with and figure it out as we go. But yeah, those two are done. So the next thing we're going to do is the eye. And we'll bring you back when we get close to finishing that. I think what we're going to do, though, is we're going to straighten a shoe. Here, let me grab a couple of these hind guys just for examples. So we're going to have to use 2 shoes almost per eye. We only have 1 eye, actually. So a little growth, yeah. Because we're going to do a capital I. And so we need the line on the top and the bottom to attach the center post, if you will. And so what we're going to do is we're going to straighten out a shoe. Probably one of these. Seems about right. We're going to straighten out a shoe. Try to get it as straight as possible in the center. Cut that off. And then cut the 2 ends off, marry them together. So we got to get them as straight as possible. Marry them together. And from there, we just attach them. We use the center line of the eye. We're going to marry that to the cross pieces. This is going to take a little bit longer than some of the other letters will, so that's why we're going to do it next. This, the I and the R, I think, are going to be probably the hardest. Maybe the E, but we're doing a capital E, so it should be pretty easy. So yeah, we'll come back when the eye is close to complete. We're just going to be straightening shoes and cutting them into pieces, and then we'll marry them together after. So I got the components for the eye kind of situated here. I tried my best to get them to marry up as much as possible. Nothing terrible about them at all. It's just, it's kind of, I don't even know how to express what I'm feeling. It's not a bad feeling. It's just, I think, I don't know what I think. I like it. It gets the point across. It's an eye. It's an eye. It's about the size I want it to be. The top and the bottom are a little bit longer than I wanted them to be, but I don't want to grind too much. But I'm using the O as reference, like we talked about, so it fits within the confines of the O, which is great. So I think we're going to go with it from there. While I was waiting for the pieces to cool down, I made the L's. I didn't finish them, obviously, because these would be really long and comical. I think they're even bigger than the G. So we got to cut, I think it's 3.5 inches off of each one and then bring it down. They are going to be a little taller than the O, and which is a problem just because they're all capital letters, so there shouldn't be anything taller than the other. However, we're going to go with it just for the sake of it looking like an L instead of just a right angle. So it's just one of those, if I do it correctly, it should it should look like an L just fine. I did the other ones okay, but I wasn't going for uniform length necessarily. On the fall sign, the A, the L, and the L were all roughly the same size, and it came out looking pretty well. This I'm putting just a little bit more effort into to try to make sure that they work. But I have the measurements for cutting these. However, the problem is I'm going to have to use the hacksaw to cut them because the cutting disc on my grinder broke. Well, it didn't like shatter and fly everywhere. It just wore down, and it came to its end point. And it's the only one I have other than the thick one. I'm not going to use the thick one, so I have to go and pick up some more cutting discs. Pretty sure if I go to Princess Auto, I can get like a pack of like 10 of them for pretty cheap. So I'm not worried about that. However, I am going to try to get these welds together on the eye, at least. I might, depending on how much time I have, I might run out and grab the discs before the end of tonight. Or, hey, I might just hacksaw them. Hacksawing is fine. It just takes longer, that's all. I do have a cutting disc for the skill chop saw over in beside the metal workbench over there. I just have yet to switch it out and turn it on and try it and all that stuff. And I don't want to do that today. That would work for these, but some of the more nuanced cuts I'd need the angle grinder or the hacksaw for. So anyway, let's get some magnets on these and see if we can get them tacked together and welded together nicely, and see what we can do for the eye. I think that'll work. I'm losing Friday in the shop. Not a whole Friday, but most of Friday I'm losing in the shop. And that's because of my niece is actually getting to buy her first horse now. Right now she's leasing a horse. And they've been looking for a horse to purchase for, I think, about a year now. Because they were looking at the same time we were looking when we got Potter. And we really got lucky with Potter because he just fit he checked all of the boxes. He fit what we were looking for. So they've been searching a little bit longer because she needs a horse different than what I needed, obviously, because she's an amateur jumper right now, but she wants to get better at the whole jumping thing. And so they needed a horse that can get her there. I think the horse's name is Streetcar, which is pretty cool. It is a thoroughbred mare, so it's a lady horse, which is something I wouldn't buy, but Giggles is a lady horse, and given my experience with lady horses, they're just a little bit more temperamental than the boy horses, the gelded boy horses anyway. Just because apparently when they cut a horse, it loses a lot of its aggressiveness. But like stallions and studs and stuff are still pretty aggressive. And then they got off the track thoroughbred, which means this thoroughbred used to do racing. And racing horses have a very short career. So a lot of horses around here, because we do have a horse track close by, a lot of horses around here that are for sale tend to be off the track thoroughbreds. And it's just not something that me and Courtney would be interested because they have like small feet and all that kind of stuff. They're just bred for racing, but they're pretty good at jumping too. There's a lot of jumping off of the thoroughbred jumping horses. So we'll see how that turns out. But we're actually, because they don't own a horse trailer, as So they've asked us to go and help them pick it up, and it's about 2 hours away. And so we're going to have to drive an hour to go and pick up my niece and my sister-in-law at their barn, and then take the 2 hours up there, get the horse, come back, drop them off, come here. So at least 6 or 7 hours are going to be just horse driving. So that's my Friday. But hopefully I get more time in here tomorrow. Try to finish up a lot of this sign. We have an eye. I'm okay with most of it. Again, we're probably going to clean it up after the fact. When all the letters are said and done, we'll kind of decide on how we want things to look in its final stage. Like, do I polish them with the wire wheel, which would be really difficult for something like the G, because the wire wheel can't get in all the nooks and crannies. Do we polish them? Do we paint them? Do we add some more weld into some of the areas that we can see some gapping? This doesn't have to be the world's strongest thing. I think my welds are getting a little bit better, especially in areas that had gaps. It was a little harder to do. Like, obviously you can see I have a hole in the one side here. So I might just try to get rid of that. I might use just like a small flap disc on the grinder. I have one up there. I don't know if it's small enough to clean up inside the corners a little bit. But then again, part of its charm is how terrible I am at this kind of stuff. I wanted to leave the 2 horseshoe nail holes in there, so I might try to get in there and clean them out a little bit. Remember, I'm going to put this back in the forge, try to get rid of some. Oh, this doesn't really have much wobble, but everything's going back in the forge at least one more time, just to get everything its uniform color. So yeah, there's that. We have the eye to go. We almost got the first word done. It says willow, it just doesn't have the other W. The other W is going to be made out of this shoe. And what I'm going to try to do with this shoe, I'm probably going to film most of what I'm going to do with this shoe because I don't know if it's going to work. So we'll see together. But we'll see how much of this I film, just based on like how long it's taking, and I have to edit. I have to cut out so many things to keep these videos around an hour long. So I should stop talking so much sometimes. But I like talking through my issues. Anyway, so this will be the W, and so basically what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to straighten it because you can see that these heels are pulled in. They do this so horses don't step on the back of their own shoe. This is a front shoe, and when they're walking, sometimes their back foot will step on their shoe. So sometimes Courtney knocks up the ends, so it's harder for them to step on the shoe. Anyway, so I have to straighten those out, and then I'm just going to widen just a little bit, and then I'm going to try to put an indent in here. So we'll see how that works. So then it just comes up into a W. I don't know how well that's going to work. I'm not very confident in being able to do it. We could just do something similar that we did to this, and just use 2 different shoes to do it. But this is a size 4 shoe. For reference, I think this G is a size 4 shoe. So it should have the height because we wanted to keep it. Yes, we have room to play with, but if it doesn't work, we'll have to move on to using 2 shoes again. But I want to try to make these letters in as many different ways as possible. I've cleaned up and done a bunch with the O. It's looking pretty good. I still got to get some of the dirt out of there, but I have a little scraper for that, and so I'll probably do that. And then I got the L's all welded up. This one, I feel like I should add a little bit more to. just because it just seems like a little weak. Once we throw it back in the forge to clean them up and get rid of all the shiny parts, we'll take a look at the welding and see if it like maybe falls apart or whatnot. But the L's came out pretty good. Um, if you see, they're almost matchy perfectly. The only thing is if I try to match them exactly on the bottom part, this one has a little bit more of a acute angle to it, but it's okay. I mean, they both are like, they're trying to get them to be perfectly matching would be a waste of time and take away from what we're trying to do is use used stuff. I'm not fabricating anything here. I'm not hardcore on the measurement. So the double L and the O are done, which is great. So we got just the W left for Willow, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna try to widen the shoe a little bit, and then try and put an indent maybe with the tip of the anvil. I was gonna use a sharper angle to put the tip in, but I'm worried that it's gonna smush the toe of the shoe too much and make it like fold over on itself. But we'll probably try both ways because we should be able to fix the other way. I just don't know how I'm going to do it and keep the shape of the shoe. I might have to reshape the shoe after it's all said and done. You might have an idea that might make this work a little bit easier. I'm going to put 2 clamps on the anvil here with a separation between them, but they might wobble on me a lot. I think we're going to have to make that work. I think in the future, unless I want like a W with a very curvy W and not like the other one, then that's fine. But I think if we ever want like a prominent center to our W, then we're going to have to use 2 shoes like we did the first one. Even on a smaller scale, it'd still work out pretty well. I'm gonna heat up the next shoe, which is the R. We got this tiny little shoe that we have to kind of almost fully straighten, and then go from there. So I have to clean it first and all that kind of stuff. So we'll come back with the R being shaped. All right, so the R here, our goal is to just keep curving this guy around until it meets kind of like the center point here. But we also don't want it to be too short where it's supposed to meet up. So we want to really try to get a good curve into it. But also, we want to make sure that we're not overdoing it. So I think the heat needs to come further down here so we can finish the bend properly. It's going to be a weird short R. I mean, that'll do. Let's see if I can bring that up just a tad. And I think that's looking pretty good. I might actually just let them cool down. I'll get the O and the V done. I don't think I'm going to come back for each of those letters just because they're pretty straightforward. And then it's the E. Weld this and the E. So we'll work the E and then we'll weld the R and the E together. So we'll put these guys together to cool down. And then we'll come back. I forgot to turn turn the camera on when I was doing the E, but it was pretty straightforward actually, so we didn't really miss too much there. Our next step here is to get the welding process done. I'm going to have to go and clean up a little bit here. It's actually not so bad, but here we got this R piece that's going to sit here. I grinded a little bit extra, like a bump in there, because unfortunately, the way that this is set up, because of the heels of the shoe, like we were talking about earlier, are thicker metal, and they don't have the bevel or the chamfer or whatever you want to call it as prominent as the rest of the shoe. So I grinded just a little bit of a bump in there, and it fits a lot better now, which unfortunately means I have this really sharp little point, but we're going to work on that. There we go. There's the R and the E. All of our letters are done. So let me just pack this up a little bit, and then we'll head over to the workbench and see what it actually all comes together to look like for us. I made a couple words. I'm pretty happy with them. We've got some cleanup to do, especially on some of the welds that have little pock marks, and and stuff. I'm probably gonna take them to the wire wheel. I actually bought for the angle grinder this twisted wire cup for the angle grinder. We're gonna test it out. I don't know when, but we're gonna test it out on trying to clean up some of the harder to reach places, as opposed to trying to bring it to the Brent's grinder, because some of these have some curves in there that I just wouldn't be able to reach otherwise. So we're gonna see about this. We do have the other ones that are for the drill, and so I'm gonna try to figure out the best way to do that. Some of these are like very bulbous and stuff, and we want to bring that down a bunch, but I'm not 100% worried about it. There may be, I may bring them to the forge before I start messing with the weld, get everything exactly where I want it, and then clean it up. And then as far as the letters are concerned, the one I don't like the most is actually, wait for it, is this V. It's just the simplest one to make, other than the O's, because they came that way. I didn't get the look I wanted from it. I think it's a little too skinny. I could widen it, but I don't want it to look like a U. I couldn't get it to come to more of a point without going into some of the other things that I did just for this W. This W is the second one I did. The second one I just like, but it's growing on me. It's growing on me. It's very clear what each letter is, which I really, really like. I'm going to talk to Courtney because I know she's made these bar shoes before. And so if I can get her to talk to me about how they get these points in there, maybe I can just expand on that premise. So we'll see. We will see. But they're growing on me a lot. The L's are a little weird now that I'm looking at them compared to everything else. Once I heat them up, I'm probably going to give them a little bit of a whack here and there, just to straighten them out. This one's more so than this one. This is the one that I had that I'm having that second guessing on the weld on it. But I think all in all, it's coming around pretty well. I kind of like the fact that we're not having weld marks or welding on the tops of each of the letters. I think having the seams there gives it a little bit of character. Yeah. So this is it. I haven't decided on how this sign is going to actually play out. So I'm going to actually message not the owner who I'm giving this to, but I'm going to message her barn manager and get her input on how she thinks she would like to see it play out. Because I could just weld them all together. Into a straight line, like maybe on a bar or something. But we just put a little bit of a weld to them, so they're all one cohesive thing. This one will be really difficult, but we could get them pretty close though. And we weld them all together, maybe in one straight line, and then I put a stand on it so it can just sit on the ground. I don't know if I'm going to spray paint them or not. It's just some stuff I have to think of. I'm going to spend this evening just thinking about what I'm going to do with this, and then hopefully with tomorrow's time, I can finish up the letters, and we'll figure out where we're going with this sign. Willow Grove. Yeah, it's together. It's really early in the morning, so sorry if I look tired or whatever. But yeah, I decided to weld all the letters together and just kind of make it just basic, and I think it came out looking pretty good.
I still want to take a couple of seconds to clean up some of the tack welds you see at the front here. Um, I might just do that very slowly with a file while I figure out anything else I want to do. The one thing I want to do, I want to make sure I do is I don't want to have shiny spots. And I know as soon as I start filing it or grinding it or any of that kind of stuff, it's all going to shine everything up. So I might take the hand torch after the file and just like redull everything, just reheat everything up because I can't put this in the forge. I could probably get it in the forge because the forge goes all the way through, so I could open up the back door and do it that way if I really wanted to. I don't know if I will. I think we're gonna leave it like this anyway. You can see a little bit of rust forming in some areas, which is okay. It's got like a nice used, unique look. So I might just try to brush off a little bit here and there. There is some spatter marks from the welding. On the back, I don't care, but there is a couple on the front. It's around this W here, and it's just kind of flaking off. So I could probably just brush it off, and that's just because of these tack marks. So the way I had to do it was I couldn't lay it down like this and then put them all together upside down because the way that I flattened them, I made sure that they were flat on the back side and not necessarily on the front side. So on the front side, they're not as even as they are on the back side. So I had to lay them out and then put a tack or two on the front and then go to the back and then just weld it. Here, I'll walk you through a couple. It's holding together really, really well. I haven't had any issues since I put them together. The O's were actually really hard to do. The O's are a heavier shoe. The bar shoes are a heavier shoe, so it was really, really hard. This guy's got a hole in it, so I might fix that really quick, or I might just file it down. We'll see. But it's not like this is going to be structural. It's not like anybody's going to put any weight on this, I'd hope. But yeah, you can see just a couple of welds here and there. Some of them are okay. Some of them are pretty terrible. But this is actually going to give me some ideas on the best way to weld the shoes during like a sculpture and stuff. So I'm glad I did this. I thought that the pumpkins were going to give me more insight, but this is a little bit better. So I had somebody ask me. I just posted the pumpkins yesterday, and somebody already asked me about them. So that's pretty good. So I'm gonna have to make a couple more pumpkins, which is pretty cool. So anyway, we've kind of run out of time this week. It is already Saturday morning. Going to get the horse yesterday was took 7.5 hours as opposed to the 6 hours I wanted it to. So the only thing I could get done yesterday was welding all the numbers or the letters together. And so I came into the shop and that's what I did. And it just seems kind of fate-y as I ran out of propane yesterday after straightening all the letters. And it didn't take much to straighten them all. I think they look okay. I think they look pretty good. Courtney says I should probably just leave this as is. I have decided if I'm going to throw a top coat on it to keep it a little rust-proofy, or if I'm just going to leave it as it is. We'll see. But yeah. So we ran out of propane, so I'm going to go this afternoon and get more so we can start our next project. And the only thing we need propane for now is just to help clean the shoes up, and then flatten them, and that's it. I don't think our next projects are gonna be changing shoes too much, but we'll see. I'm gonna try a sculpture next, and we'll see. Unless somebody orders some other stuff, but I'm gonna try the sculpture next anyway. But yeah, so thanks for watching this week. I appreciate it, and yeah, we just got this one sign done. There was a bunch of work that went into it. Like this W, it's like on the back, it's just a mess. um, I haven't asked Courtney about that just yet. And I reset the V a little bit while we were straightening it up, so it looks more like a V, I think, this time around. Um, so yeah, it was great. Um, like I said, the Willow Grove barn owner doesn't know that this is coming or anything like that. I'm not going to be posting this on the Facebook page or anything like that. It's just something I wanted to make to practice making letters in many different ways, and I think this was a good combination of letters to work with. But so we'll see you next week, and I'll try to get into the shop early and often next week, and we can see if we can actually pump out a whole sculpture of some sort. We could do something small, but I mean that's not me. But we'll see you next week. Thanks again.